Hey everybody, and welcome to this session on automations in MailChimp. And so automations are really known as follow-up sequences or autoresponders, but they also, at least in MailChimp, have something similar to, let's say, campaigns in Infusionsoft. Now, I know the last session we went through was on campaigns, and campaigns in MailChimp are different than campaigns in Infusionsoft. In MailChimp, campaigns are broadcast messages. In Infusionsoft, they're automations and broadcasts and all kinds of things. So automations is just a way to automate specific things that can happen within MailChimp. And a lot of automations have to do with integrations. And integrations is another session that I'll be doing, or that will be part of this program. And we'll really come back and look at automations as well. So this is the beginning of automations. When we get to the integrations piece, we'll also come back and take a look at additional automations. So automations is all again about automating things such as sending off an email thank you, or if somebody purchases something, for instance, through an integration to MailChimp, you would send them maybe their login details. So there are what are called triggers, and the triggers is actually what triggers the automation to kick off. So for instance, if somebody clicks on a button, there's a trigger, and then that trigger will trigger off whatever automation that you've set it to do. So there are different types of predefined automations that come with MailChimp, and that's something that's always going to change. They're always going to be tweaking that. And then the triggers, again, are what's actually triggering the event to happen, or the sequence to happen, if you will. So we're going to do an overview. We'll look at the different types of automation, the different triggers. We'll look at how to create an automation, how to schedule it, what actions for it to take, and then how to turn on an automation. So similar to a broadcast, you actually have to turn on or schedule, if you will, the start of an automation. Okay. So as I mentioned, in the email marketing industry, there's a lot of standard terms, but when it comes to working in the different tools, there's no standard. So in here, an automation is also similar to a follow-up sequence or an autoresponder, and those are all based on triggers, so same idea. As I mentioned, includes triggers and specific actions you want them to take. Now, campaigns in Infusionsoft also contain these things as well, but they're called campaigns over there, so I just don't want you to confuse that, especially if you're going between MailChimp and Infusionsoft in the school. A lot of the different automations may require you to have integrations in order for them to work correctly. For instance, MailChimp is just an email marketing tool. It doesn't have a shopping cart. If you want to use an automation that has to do with purchasing, then you obviously need to integrate with something like PayPal or Stripe or WooCommerce, or one of those tools that will allow you to complete a purchase. So as I mentioned, we'll come back and look at additional automations once we go through integrations in a future, in a module that you'll be, I think it's in module 5 that you'll be seeing that. So here are the different types of automations. And as I mentioned, these will obviously change and grow over time. So if you're watching this and you're looking at your screen and they're different, it's because MailChimp, as we know, has changed, just like all technology. So e-commerce or retail would again give you the option or the availability to complete a purchase. Nonprofit, education, music, software, list activity, which would have to do with your email marketing list, date-based customs, and then specific integrations. So what I want to do is show you how to go in and create an automation. So I'm going to pop over. And I'm in MailChimp, obviously. I'm going to go ahead and go into automation. And what you'll see here, you'll already have a list of automations here. And when I scroll down at the bottom, these are the predefined automations that come with MailChimp, which is really nice because they kind of give you a set of actions and triggers that you would basically edit yourself. Instead of trying to come up with these yourself, they give you some proven and tested ideas for how to use automation. So you can see there's welcome message, educate subscribers, recurring dates, and so on and so forth. So a couple of things we can do. Actually, you know what? I'm going to just clean this up. We got all kinds of stuff in here. You can select them. Again, you can choose delete to get rid of them. And you can feel free to delete anything that's yours that you don't want to keep. Now you're going to notice some differences between this. This is a current automation. This one is paused. It has the same images, similar to what we saw when we were working in campaigns. Okay, shows you that, shows you your reports, and so on. Okay. So we have folders and filters just like we do when we're looking at campaigns. But what we want to do is create an automation. So we're going to click on Add Automation. Okay. And then you'll notice over here, here's the different types of automation, e-commerce, and you'll notice there's a figure next to each one of these. That's the number, current number of automations per category. So there's 8 under e-commerce and nonprofit education. So basically you could just click on the one that you want. It'll scroll down and it will show you. These are great. Again, new student orientation, course series, student re-engagement. So if you have a client that's a coach and teaches a program, this would be something that might be useful for them as an automation. And nonprofit. So you can certainly take your time and kind of look at these different ones that might work for you. Okay, software. So all of these, if you'll notice, add automation, but a lot of times you may actually have to do an integration. So for instance, if I go to e-commerce, you'll notice that underneath it, it says requires an e-commerce integration. So if it needs a specific integration, it's going to tell you at the bottom down here. Okay. As for education, you'll notice I could just go in and add an automation, and I could simply click on that. So let's say this is a new student orientation. You're going to name your automation. So I can say, right, what list? Okay, so you could choose whatever list. And hit next. So similar to what you kind of do when you create a campaign. All right, so here we go. This is called the workflow recipe. This is the actions and the sequences that it's going to take. Here again is your list name, shows you the number of subscribers. Okay, and then obviously here's the name of your new automation. So you can see here, it automatically has given me a series of emails. Okay, now they're not completely finished, but it does give me a subject line, right? So welcome to my course. Here's course description 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you can actually add additional emails as well. So if you have 6 courses, you can click add email. So this one is specifically written for new students. And notice, as I said, it's giving you kind of a template to start with versus you having to think of these things yourself. That's the beauty of these predefined automations that you can use. Okay. And so then you have your trigger immediately after your subscriber joins your list. This one's one day, and it just builds on top of, so it's basically every day they get a new email. So there's a couple different things you can do. You can hit edit trigger, and you can change when something is triggered. So this one's immediately, okay? So this is immediately when somebody subscribes, or you could also say when they are imported. And then I hit update. So imported would be imported from another program. And then if I want this to go out maybe a little bit later, remember, this is like an autoresponder series that you can actually have several different emails that are kicked off at a specific time. So this one's one day after the first one. And that's okay because the first day is like welcome. The second one's here's your first course. But maybe I want a little more cushion between course 1 and course 2. So I'll hit edit trigger. And I can choose to wait. You've got days, hours, and weeks. So I'll say I'm going to wait 3 days. Give them time to go through that one. And then I'm going to update that. Okay, so now you can see it says 3 days, and then I'll go down here and I'll just space them out so they're 3 days. So I give my students a little bit of time to digest the information that they're learning versus trying to just really whip through it. There we go. Okay, so I went ahead and change the trigger. And by the way, you can do this in any order. You don't have to do the trigger first and then the email. I'm just showing you what's most convenient here. You also have the schedule. If I hit edit schedule, notice that I can choose a specific day of the week that this is sent out. Now, normally if somebody purchases something or joins something, you're going to want to send them the email immediately. So it doesn't matter what day of the week. Okay. What time should they be sent? Okay. As soon as possible. You can send at a specific time or between a specific time. Okay. Again, when somebody purchases something or joins something, you're probably going to want to do it immediately. So I'll just go and hit save. Okay, and then each one of these is going to have the same thing. So why would you want to change this? Well, it depends on the content of what you're sending and any programs maybe that it's related to, because maybe you only send new stuff is only sent out every week or on a specific Thursday or every other Thursday. So you could actually control the dates that your triggers are actually sent out. Okay, so that's what that is. You can also edit segments. So you remember you can choose what a segment is. Okay, I can choose segment conditions. Okay, and again, your segments are going to also depend on the list that you're using, but you can also do segments within your automation. And then last, you have your actions. Okay, and your actions are directly related to the type of automation that you're using. Obviously, there's going to be different actions when it comes to using an e-commerce automation, which would be a purchase, than when you're just sending some information. Okay, so I can hit choose post sending list action. So these are different things that I can do. These are similar to actions that are taken in Infusionsoft as well. There are specific actions, like you could add a tag, you can join a group, you can delete from a list, and you can do other things from here. You could update their merge field. Now, most of the time when you're just updating it or just using an automation for text-based information, there's really not an action set that you're going to use. That's what they're called in Infusionsoft. Sorry, they're called an action set. But I did want to show you what those are. And you have to realize that depending on the predefined automation you choose depends on the options that you get for your actions. Okay? Okay, you can move things around by dragging and dropping. Okay, but what I want to do is come over here and show you these options. You can delete an email and you can also design an email. So this is email number 1. Okay, it's already put in the subject line, and then my subject could be exactly the same thing, which I think is always a good idea. Okay, your information, and then once again, this is similar to what we did when we were working in campaigns. So I can come in here and choose my template, and then I'm going to go ahead add my data, so on and so forth. Okay. All right, so there's my first one. Okay. Now I can go back in at any time by clicking on Design Email, and I can go back and edit this. So I could delete this. Actually, you know what? I'll delete this piece. And in this piece, I will actually, that looks better. There we go. Okay, now you can send yourself a test email. You can test all of them, or you can test just a specific. Where do you want to send it? Right? I can send it to additional users. I can include instructions and all that kind of stuff. And then I can hit send. So it'll send me a test. Okay? Always a good idea to do that. Okay, so that's the first one. And then you can see that you have an image of it. If I click on it, it will just blow it up and show it to me. Okay? You can see my desktop, my mobile, my inbox. Okay? So then I would go down here and do the same thing. Right? So I'm just going to use that. Get my template, and you get the gist of this. I mean, it's basically the same thing that we did with campaigns, but now we're just doing it for a specific automation. So I can delete that. I just have too much stuff on this one. Say, whoops. Right. Now, obviously, this is, you've got design. There's your design options. You can also add some comments and then save and continue. Okay, so now I've done the first 2, and then you realize, you know what, I don't need all of these. Maybe I only need course 1 and course 2. So I can go down here and I can delete this email. Right, you can also add mail, by the way, so see how easy it is to add. Okay, so maybe I'll go in and do this one. So let's say I have 3. So I invite you to play with some of the different ones that are out there, because there's lots of different ones. I just happen to choose this one because it's right up my alley since I teach. Oops, I keep forgetting I do that. Hello. And save and close. Save and continue. Okay, so now I've got all of these. Did I forget number 2? Maybe I did. I did. Might as well get them all done here. Template. You can also grab campaigns. Okay. So I could actually come in here and say, I'll use this one. Right. There we go. Save and continue. Oops, sorry. And there we go. There's my automation. Okay. Now I can go up here, save and exit. Whoops. Go back to my automation. Okay, so here it is. New group coaching clients, new student orientation. So this is the automation that I've chosen. This is the list that I've chosen, and then this is when it was edited. Okay, now you notice I have an edit, I have a replicate, and then on here, obviously it's not going to kick off and start until somebody triggers the automation. So remember, it's different. It's like an autoresponder series or a follow-up sequence. Something has to trigger it. And in this instance, it has to do with people subscribing to this specific list or being imported to the list. So I could go to this live event list. So let me pop over there. So where's the live event list? And let's say I'll add a person here. I love this little throwaway email option. So I'm going to go add somebody. And then it will kick off the automation automatically. Okay, it's added to that. So now that automation will have kicked off because somebody actually either joined or subscribed. Now, how do we know that? Because that was part of the setup of the automation, right? Okay. What is the trigger? The trigger immediately after subscribers join or are imported to your list. Okay. And so that's how you know it works. All right, so let me get back. Oops. To here. So what I invite you to do is click on Add Automation and experiment with the different ones. So you have list activity, which are common. There's a welcome message, there's education, there's welcome joins the list, so on and so forth. You have date-based. So you could do things like birthdays, specific dates recurring. You could even do a custom workflow, and then there's additional integration. So there's just so many of these, but they're all created pretty much the same. But if you're using the predefined ones, they're all going to be a little bit different based on the type that you're choosing. Custom, again, will allow you to create custom criteria when it comes to this. And I actually have, oops, a custom one here. Okay, so this is just a custom flow that allows you to choose how you want it. And so really this is just starting an automation from scratch with no steps provided. You have to start everything from steps. So you're welcome to look at that one as well. So remember, automation is similar to autoresponders follow-up sequences. There's triggers that cause it to perform whatever action that you have. And then there's predefined ones that you can choose from. And some of those are going to include those integrations. Okay, so your homework is to create an automation of your choice. And what I invite you to do is try different ones, right? Try a custom automation, try a predefined automation. The integration ones we'll come back to, but I'd love for you to try to get comfortable with these because basically the predefined ones are giving you kind of a flow. Look at how to add and how to remove. Look at how to set the triggers and the schedules and those type of things. So remember, bottom line is an automation is like an autoresponder or a follow-up sequence, whereas in MailChimp, a campaign is your broadcast messages. So hopefully this will get you started on automations, excuse me. They are powerful, they are great, but I do recommend starting with the predefined ones because it really does do most of the heavy lifting for you. If you need help, feel free to click in the help button in the upper right-hand corner, send us an email, post in our private Facebook group, or comment below. Thanks for your time. I'll see you in the next session. Bye.